Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Alliance for Eating Disorder Awareness's conversation, the first of three during Mental Health Awareness Month, very much ensuring that eating disorders are part of the conversation. I am so excited to have the amazing Chad Moses to write Love on Her Arms joining us. We can get him on soon and have this really important conversation. For those of you, hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It is so good to see you.
I just heard that I was amazing. I don't know if I've earned that yet. You're amazing-er, so I'm just trying to keep pace with you.
Thank you. I was so excited when I found out that we were going to have the conversation with you. I've had the amazing opportunity to do a podcast with you earlier this year, and without a doubt, one of the highlights of the past year, I can definitely say pretty much up on in my career. So thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a wild day here up the coast from you. They're prepping for an air show, so that's made all sorts of phone calls very fun.
It's always curveball. I feel like that sort of comes with like what we do, right? It's like never a dull moment ever.
Right, right. Thanks, Florida.
Yeah, yeah, for so many reasons. So, well, thank you so much for joining us during a mental health awareness month. So excited to have a conversation with you and really to talk about, just the importance of having the stigma set smashing conversations. So first and foremost, right off the bat, would love to hear more from you and for like the 0.0001% chance of people that don't know about all the amazingness that is To Write Love on Our Arms. Could you just share a little bit about the organization and you?
Absolutely. So we'll start with the organization. So we are a nonprofit that exists to present hope and find help for anyone struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. And over the years, we've even expanded that into post-traumatic stress, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, and disordered eating. Really, whatever it is you're walking through that may feel a bit too heavy to carry on your own, our hope is to be a bridge to connect you to options for treatment and recovery, options for therapy, options for connection. So we do that through a number of programs that are designed to encourage, to inspire, to inform. And then we also invest financially into the avenues that do treatment and recovery work. So we've been at this for 15 years now. We just turned 15 back at the end of March. And I'm here representing our team of 18 folks. And we're working nonstop, really just, again, trying to build that better bridge. My role in this is I'm director of outreach. So most people are familiar with us through social media, through our website. And it's my job to try to translate whatever you believe to be true about us online through a screen into face-to-face contact. That's obviously been very difficult this past year, but we're making our way through it. And a lot of it is thanks to you, Joanna, and opportunities like this to just provide a sense of mental health with skin on. These aren't just heady conversations, but these are meant to be had in good company with real, actual humans.
I love everything you just talked about. And I think I just want to really say thank you for everything that you, the organization, just for showing up and letting folks know that they're being seen and heard. Because I think that for so many of us that have experienced mental illness, that are experiencing mental illness, and that will experience mental illness, so often you feel like you are in a vacuum, that you are alone. It feels like the weight of the world is on this backpack that's attached to this U-Haul, and you're trying to like move forward. And I think what I love so much about the Tuala community is this sense of community, and that you don't have to walk this journey alone. So on that vein, how have you and the organization really tried to amplify and lift up this sense of community and encouraging people to reach out?
Totally. And that's a great way to frame that question as well. You know, just as we hope that no one individual feels like it's all on them to manifest a sense of self-care or to think themselves into better health or what have you. In the same way, we know that we do not have a monopoly on mental health challenges. We do not have a monopoly on hope, that the only way to get through this is going to be with other people. So we don't pretend to be the counselors. We don't pretend to be the destination for anyone's treatment and recovery. But, you know, if you, Joanna, and you, the viewers and the listeners, can think about honest conversations about mental health in your own life. Often we have those in retrospect, in the rear view mirror, and people ask in past tense, why didn't you ask for help? And normally we hear one of two different answers. One, I didn't know who to ask, or two, I didn't even know if it was okay to ask. And I know that we're going to get to stigma a little bit later in this conversation, but that is so much of it. And it's unfair to just tell someone that this all is on you to either figure it out yourself or to fix it all on your own. So for us, it's all about building that community of learning who's doing the good work, of when we feel that we don't have the right answer, can we do some work and find people that do have better answers? And even then, it's all going to be a journey of perspective, right? Like, this is going to be about getting multiple eyes, multiple ears, multiple shoulders all on the same situation. And thereby we can build out a proper safety net on how we can move forward.
So much so. And you said so many things in there. Like, first and foremost, something that's really, really important to us here at the Alliance is this idea that, number one, is you were never meant to do this alone, and you are never expected to do this alone. I feel like so often, because with mental health, it's above the neck, we have this perception that if only I tried hard enough, if only I wanted it enough, then it would happen. And the truth of the matter is that's not how it is. Just how you can't will away a broken bone, you're not supposed to like will away depression, anxiety, and eating disorder, trauma, self-injury, substance use, you name it. And I think that, you know, you're so right. You talked about the thing that holds us back from reaching out is not knowing where to go. And I think I also want to just add is this fear of being a burden, of being too much, of, you know, well, I'll be the first person to pick up the phone when someone else calls, but when the tables are turned, I just don't want to bother that person. And I think what TWALA and the Alliance does is, you know, we show up to say, number one is you're not supposed to do this alone. Number two is that help is available and that there is life beyond. Insert what you're experiencing. It's not going to be utopic. I say that a lot. I know we talked about this before. It's not going to be sunshine, bunnies, and rainbows. You don't recover to this like unbelievable place, which, yeah, you do recover to this beautiful place. It's life. It's not going to be perfect. And I think that for so many of us, when we are in the depths of it, the other side seems so far away that it feels just too much to even take that first step. And so I love that throughout the pandemic and before, the messages that you all would share about is that, you know, hope isn't canceled. Help isn't canceled. It's okay to reach out for help. So if someone is watching right now this, you know, our conversation, what would you say to them that have, like, for someone who feels like they don't deserve to reach out, they can't reach out, or that they're stuck? Like, what would you want to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, approaching this from a couple different angles, like, there's no, you know, oftentimes, especially in the world of addiction, in recovery, you hear this term of rock bottom. And sometimes that framework can be manipulated to say, oh, well, I haven't really hit bottom because I feel like I'm still going down, or I feel like I've been here before. Maybe this isn't all together new. But I think for so much of this, like, there is no line that you have to cross. You can't be too screwed up for help, and you don't need to hit this level of screwed up in order to ask for that help. If at any point you feel like I just want to stop feel like I'm screaming into the void. Like, is there someone that can hear me? The answer is going to be yes. And if you need some ideas on where to start that journey, then I know that the Alliance has some options for you, particularly if you're dealing with topics of eating disorders and disordered eating, if you're dealing with trauma, if you're dealing with self-injury or substance misuse, or you name it, there's no shortages of options, but we understand that it can be overwhelming. Like, just having a list in front of you doesn't solve the problem. It's applying that list to your life. And that's where I think y'all and us to a certain degree really help fill that void. That if you need some ideas, if you need some tips for self-care in the meantime, if you need opportunities to check in with yourself, we have some resources there for you. And I'm sure we'll get to that a little bit later too. But I mean, to anyone that's watching and thinking that you have waived your right to help, or that you haven't reached your limit before you can ask for help, like, that is, I'll say it, a nonsense on its face. Like, if I watch a kid fall off a bike and break his arm, I'm not going to say, well, your arm's not broken enough to get help, or dude, your arm is way too broken to get help. Like, you're just going to have to figure this out. Like, that's silly, right? Like, I saw someone else in the comments say that mental health and physical health need to be put on par. And you're right. Why? Because this is all just a conversation about health. So,
So true, so true. And I think something that we talk about a lot here is that there's no sick enough to get access to help, sick enough to say, okay, now it's okay for me to reach out for help. It doesn't matter if you've been experiencing an eating disorder for a beat or a lifetime, or a mental health disorder, anxiety, depression, any of the above. Like, you don't need to hit a certain threshold to warrant care and support. And so I think that the more that we have these conversations, and in a sense, smash the stigma, as we like to say here at the Alliance, the more that we're going to be able to have these conversations. Because I'm sure that 15 years ago when Twala was started, or 20 years ago when the Alliance was started, I mean, I know that I felt very much like on an island of one, where nobody wanted to talk about it, where it's like, yeah, maybe at night, or, through at that point, like a written letter, or an email. There was not a lot of texting, and definitely not social media at that point. It was very much like a very quiet, very just shame-based. And
yeah.
the truth of the matter is that we don't choose to have mental illness, just like we don't choose to have cancer or diabetes or a broken bone. And so when you were talking about, like a parity for mental health versus physical health, we need to include, conversation into that as well, because it's not so much that it should be treated. We should be able to have conversations on par about mental health as we do with physical health. So I love that reminder. I know that y'all have been such tremendous advocates for, smashing that stigma. And on behalf of our organization, thank you so much, because y'all are doing the most incredible work. What are some tips around navigating conversations if you have a loved one or someone, who you're concerned about, that you feel that they're having a rougher time, or that they're experiencing some type of mental illness?
Yeah, I really think that the, 2010s and early 2020s have got us in kind of this framework where having passionate discussion is very, very difficult, where it turns into every conversation is an attempt to convince someone of something. I feel like there's way too much talking at people, and not enough actual dialogue happening. And that can be for a number of different reasons that we don't need to go into right now. But I will say that mental health does not need to be one of those things. Behavioral health does not need to be one of those things where it just turns into whoever's loudest is most correct. Like, that's just not the way. You're not going to shout depression away. You're not going to yell eating disorders away. Like, that's just not how this works. So what we found is that it is super helpful to just get away from the buzzwords that make conversation difficult. Instead, let's do a little less talking and a little more listening. Let's not do as much telling and do a bit more asking. So throughout this month, for Mental Health Month, we've been honing in on 3 different phrases that we believe as an organization to be non-negotiable. But we want to hear your view on it. We want to see how you embody, how you manifest these statements. So these statements for this year is what we call the Black and White campaign are: stop apologizing for existing. Period. Done. On to the next one. The next one is: I am not broken. Who I am is whole. And the third one is: nothing can take away how far you've come. And for us, we feel like this hits on the pillars of everyone's, spot on this planet, in this universe, that you need to be able to feel like you deserve to exist here, and that your identity is something that matters, and your journey is something that deserves to be shared. And all of these things, like, we can't rewrite the past, but we can certainly share our present and anticipate a future that's a bit more collaborative.
Yeah, I have to say, when I first saw the 3 pillars this year for the Black and White campaign, I was putting my daughter to bed, and I tend to hang out in her room while she's falling asleep. And I sat in her chair and I just started crying at those 3, because they actually like took my breath away, because for such a long time when I was experiencing my eating disorder, those 3 simple and charged and complex sayings, they were literally the antithesis of what was going on in my head, or how I felt like I deserved to be seen or to exist. So I can only imagine the impact that those 3, in a sense, simple but beautiful and just complicated sayings are making such a shift for the community. So incredible. Thank you. And especially the last one about, that whatever steps you make now does not take away what you've done. And I think that for so much of our community, that's such a big part of the recovery journey, because, for us at the Alliance, we talk about this like recovery bank account, where it's like you make these steps, and it's a one-way bank account. Like, you can only deposit it, because no matter what happens after I do this step, whatever the next step is, it doesn't take away from what I just did. And
Right.
that reminder that, on like a broader spectrum, is that we aren't our mental. We're just individuals that are experiencing mental illness. It's not who we are, and it's what we're experiencing and what we're going through. And I think that reminder of just, we get to exist, we get to be seen, we get to be heard, is so often the antidote to, as I like to say, the shitty committee between so many of our ears. So I love so much of that. And so I think it's a beautiful segue. And I think you've answered it. But how are you at Twala, in your community, working to smash the stigma around a mental illness, around having conversations, around saying it's okay to ask for help?
Yeah, well, to that end, there's never going to be enough opportunities to, kind of retread where we've gone conversationally. Like, as nonprofits, we market in redundancy. Like, we have a message that we are going to repeat until we work ourselves out of a business. So
I so want to, like, my second career, I so want to be like the second Joanna Gaines and like flip houses. So let's hope.
Yeah. So to answer your question, like, how do we smash stigma around mental health challenges? I think so much of that, again, is about asserting your personal dignity as you're walking through it, that you do not need to be polished or completely put together in order for your life to be shared. But we find that there is immense value in surrounding yourself with people who are also in process. And I think that if we're going to be honest, everyone that we've ever met is someone that is still in process, and that is okay. In fact, that is beautiful. I remember, for a little bit of a tangent here, I remember showing up to a panel discussion, to a conference, and I was tabling at our booth, and this older gentleman walks by with his granddaughter, and he asks what we're all about. I tell him we exist to help people struggling with things like depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. And he puts down the card that I passed to him, and he looks at his granddaughter and says, "Well, thank God we don't know anyone like that," and starts walking away. And I'm like, well, man, I don't know if that's anything to be thankful for, because to me, that shows that either people in your life that are struggling don't trust you to enough to share those struggles with you, or you're just so insulated that you're not aware of the pain that's happening around you. So I think there is value in sharing your journey with wise and caring people. You do not need to broadcast your life on social media. But I would say it is very important to have people in your life that can check in on you, that can ask, "Hey, Joanna, how are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
And then you answer, and I say, "Yeah, but really, how are you doing?" You
Yeah.
know, like, and it's okay to rework how we answer questions. It's even better to rework how we phrase questions. Can we trust our friends and family enough to be open-ended with how we are sharing our lives, how we're asking our questions? So I think so much of it is just providing the space
Mm-hmm.
for honesty to take root.
Yeah, I think as you were sharing, I was thinking of really the whys behind why we do support groups here at the Alliance. And it's really to provide people to have just that, a place to be seen, heard, and valued. The very wise Brene Brown likes to say, it's just, there's something magical and that happens in these groups, or any opportunity where, whether it's a support group for eating disorders or an AA meeting or whatever, wherever you're finding your help and support, is that sometimes when you feel like you don't have the words to be able to express what's really going on, you can be in a room, whether it's a real room or a virtual space, where someone can say something and it hits you at the core of who you are, and it allows you to be seen and heard. And so I think that, when you talk about, like, removing the stigma, creating opportunities for conversations, it's definitely like in the community as a whole, but even in people that are in between, people that are on the journey of their life, in a sense, where it makes it okay to talk about it. You're in a space where people speak your language. So I think there's always an opportunity to use your voice to let people know that they're not alone. And I have to say, I had many similar situations to the encounter you had with that gentleman. And one of the things that I try to take it down to is an educational moment every single time. I had a meeting years ago with a state senator, and it was at the time where we were advocating for mental health parity on a state level, and so I remember going to meet with him, and as I walked in the room, he shared, he's like, well, my brother is the top lobbyist for Florida Blue, so this is really not going to happen. I'm not gonna co-sponsor or get on board. And you have this moment, just how you shared, is either I can take an opportunity to educate, or I can walk away. And for me, I took this opportunity to be like, let me just tell him what I need him to know. And I said to him, I said, someday down the line, you're going to encounter someone for what we do that is experiencing an eating disorder, whether it's a constituent, whether it's a friend, a family member. And this is what I want you to know. I want you to know that help is available, that recovery is possible. There are resources. And I just gave him top 5 quick sound bites. And I left, and I felt really bummed. I felt like I wasn't able to show up or push the needle forward. About 4 years later, we were setting up for our walk. It was actually the walk that Jamie was speaking at. Congressman Deutsch was there. Congresswoman Leona Ross-Layton was there. And I see the state senator walk up to the registration, and I looked at him, and he said, "I don't know if you remember meeting with me." And I said, "Yeah, of course I did." And he pointed to the young woman that was next to him, and he said, "This is my daughter. She has an eating disorder. And when she told me, I knew exactly where to call, and I knew exactly what to do." So it's one of those moments, you talk about, Chad, is, if you offer an opportunity for individuals to feel comfortable in sharing, or to just even plant the seeds that they're not alone, that when and if you're experiencing this, that there is places to turn to. I think that's how we push the needle forward. I think that's how we smash the stigma. That's how we let people know that it gets better. It really does.
Yeah, I think that goes back to a talking point that we hit on earlier, that it's also not all on you to convince people in another way. Like if you can exercise the patience and have a sense of that perspective, that maybe I'm not going to be the last person that they talk to about this. What kind of flavor is going to be left in their mouth after our conversation? Will it be one of curiosity, or will it taste real bitter and turn them off from future conversations? So, I mean, it's hard to not get personally like worked up when someone says, your problem is not my problem. Like, you figure it out. Like, I can't help you. And you're like, the hell you can't, you're just not trying, you know? So I think a piece of it is also having a support group around you to nourish your passion. And those times that you put yourself out there and it's not received with gratitude and grace by that individual, then you're going to have some other people pouring back into you, because there will be more fights to be had but it's not all on you to win every single fight.
1,000,000%. And then I think that that just is, it reminds you to also be very mindful of where you are going for care support.
Mm.
One of the things that we talk about all the time here is, it's like going to the hardware store and looking for bread and realizing there's no bread, but continuously going back to the hardware store to look for bread. It's like, the hardware store is not where I'm gonna get bread. And there might be some people or some, family members, loved ones, whoever it is, that just might not be able to offer you the proverbial bread or be that support. But know that there's other places, people, and things that can offer you that support. So just that reminder. And I think that it's such a great segue to, even as recent as today, the CDC released their latest set of guidelines saying that if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear masks in indoors or outdoors now. So I think that we're finally starting to see the light at the end of that proverbial tunnel with the last year and a half. So many of us have been physically isolating and socially distancing, and we're starting to come back out. And I know that for many of us that might be experiencing, social anxiety or the fears of being around people again, they're finding this transition to be extremely difficult. So any thoughts around what folks can do during this time to ease going back into more normative experiences? Any thoughts or ideas to help them take that next step?
Yeah, again, I think this isn't so much on like tips for an individual, but it's tips for all of us individuals. And it's going to be extending grace and patience. There's some people who have been clawing at the wall to get back to normal. There's some people who saw this break as something that was in a way needed, that they needed a time to push pause. There's people who are going to be radically suspicious of, they're not ready to take off their mask, and they see people that are all comfortable for it. So, I mean, I think for me, so much of it, like, even though we entered this pandemic by like slamming on the brakes, it doesn't mean that we have to now slam on the gas to catch up. Look, honest, like that the time that we lost, we're not getting that back. And it doesn't matter how quickly you dive into it, you're not gonna get April 2020 back. It's gone. And I think the piece of it is that it's gone for all of us. So unless you are well over 100 years old, this is your first pandemic, your first global quarantining experience that you've ever experienced, right? And so be patient with yourself. And if you feel like you're at a point where you just want the whole world to come to your pool party, be patient with the people that aren't quite there yet. So any refusal to be in your presence, that's not a personal slight. This is an opportunity to exercise care and and invite, like, keep the door open for people that aren't ready to show up. And if you are not ready to show up, know that there are still options for a community. At Right Love in Our Arms, we really encourage the language of physical distancing as opposed to social distancing. Like, we are social creatures. People need other people. We don't need to waive our right to personal connection. But sometimes it means that we need to create some buffer space. We need to make sure that we're staying safe. And everyone is going to have their own mental, emotional, behavioral, physical needs that need to be met, that need to be honored. So let's just continue honoring people and making accommodations where necessary. This is such a great time to continue loving each other, loving your neighbor, loving your coworkers well. We don't need to, we've had enough shame. We've had an overabundance of shame. We're done with shame. That's off the menu. Let's get back to believing the best in one another and just being patient with however these calendars continue to unfold.
I just, yes to everything you just said. And the thing that just kept on coming to my mind as you were talking is it's okay to be self-considerate. Be
Mm.
self-considerate. Fill up your cup. Take care of you. You know, charge your batteries so that you can then go out to the community. So I think that's such a tremendous, tremendous reminder. And can I just say again, like, shame is off the menu. Like, I think that needs to be a bumper sticker and one of your new t-shirts. So I'm just putting it out there because I would totally rock one in a second. So thank you for that. I know that we're starting to run out of time, but I did want to just, really start to close our conversation all around Mental Health Awareness Month. So the month of May historically has always been Mental Health Awareness Month. And I have been so floored in the best way possible to see so many entities, for-profit, nonprofit, humans of all kinds coming together to really amplify the message that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, that we get to talk about this. We get to talk about that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help and you're not alone. So I'm just wondering, what are some ways that our communities can really get involved and continue this much needed conversations, or even ways to make a difference in their lives, in their communities?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost that mental health challenges don't stop on May 31st. That just because we are taking time out of our calendar to acknowledge Mental Health Month, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a mental health challenge in June or July or December or you name it. And whatever you are feeling, whatever you are experiencing, that is totally worthy and warranted to get the help that you deserve. In that same kind of vein, we want people to know that we have a tool available for you that we just launched at the end of March. We call it, this is for all the people that are really good at reading backwards because Instagram refuses to mirror. So this says The Hopeful, which is our brand new app. So this is a daily use app for encouragement, for mood tracking, for journaling. And as someone that lives with depression, it's an amazing tool just to get a kind of calendar bird's eye view of what my past week, what my past month, what my past year has looked like, and realizing that there's going to be times that are tough and there's going to be times that are easier. Those are great times to continue reaching out. And here's another thing about therapy is you can never be well enough to not benefit from therapy. That some of my best counseling sessions have been when I've been feeling pretty good already. Invest in my self-care. I'm seeing a little spinning wheel.
We can totally.
Uh, oh no, who froze? Was it me?
You're good. We're good.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's one thing we definitely want people to know about, that there are tools, the Hopeful app being one of them. We have tools on our website that actually work hand in hand with findedhelp.com. We have our Find Help tool at twloha.com/findhelp, where you can find affordable and local mental health resources by zip code. We want the world to know about that. We want the world to know about findedhelp.com. And beyond that, we do have kind of a flagship event that we are hosting virtually. It's our annual 5K event. We want you to be a part of it. The rallying statement is the same as that third statement for our Black and White campaign. So it really kind of meshes together well there. So if you want to learn about that, check out runforit5k.com. You can run, walk, roll, hopscotch, whatever. It's really just more about connecting that mental and physical pieces of ourselves.
Love it.
So there's, and that's just what we're doing. We're part of a network for Mental Health Action Day. So Mental Health Action Day is May 20th. That's a week from today. And there are over 1,000 entities, 1,000 businesses, 1,000 nonprofits, 1,000 individuals that are lending their voice to this. So check out, just Google Mental Health Action Day. You can learn all about it. I've had a blast getting to know how many other people are sharing this mental health activation space with us. Like, I've known you for a number of years now. I'm meeting new friends and I love it. Meeting new friends in a pandemic. Like, how do you beat that?
Yeah, it's so awesome. And I have to say, I haven't been very much involved, but I will tell you my team is like, Chad is officially like the welcome wagon of like, thank you for making everyone welcome, seen, heard, embraced. But I just, I please download the app. Please check out, clearly the To Write Love on Our Arms website. For us, May and Mental Health Awareness Month is all about ensuring that eating disorders are part of the conversation. Because
Yes.
so often eating disorders are left out of the conversation, and there are so many individuals in the community as well as in the mental health field that really don't understand that eating disorders are serious mental illness. And so I just want to, on behalf of our community, I just want to say thank you to Write Love on Our Arms for always making sure that eating disorders have always been in the conversation and continue to be part of the conversation, because we know that, eating disorders have the second highest lethality rate of all psychiatric disorders, and that, about 9% of the US population will experience an eating disorder and deserve to be treated on par with other mental illness, but also physical illness. So I'm just really, really grateful for everything that y'all have done, for just being such an amazing partner. One of my most favorite quotes of all time, and it's so timely, specifically in this month, is the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it's going to take all of us to work together to take these steps to, create opportunities, conversations, to smash that stigma and to let people know that this is not your fault. You did not choose this. You are not meant to do this alone. You are not meant to recover alone. And the last bit is that it does get better. So please keep on showing up. Like, Twala has done such a beautiful job at reminding everyone that, please stay, please be here, please show up. We need you. So thank you so much, Chad, for this amazing conversation. Thank everyone at Twala for all the amazing work that you do. And just really excited to have you on our team, in this crazy journey of ours. So.
Oh man, well, we're honored to be part of the conversation, and we think the world of you. Hey, for y'all watching, this is not the first nor the last time that Joanna and I will be talking. You can check out our conversation on our podcast as well. Like you said, that was one of my favorite conversations that I've had in the past year. And yeah, more good times to come, that we are working ourselves out of a job. But the only way we're going to do that is in community with friendship.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who checked us out. Please take care. Please be safe. Take care of yourself. Take good care, my friend, and we will talk soon.
Bye, Joanna. Take care.
Bye.